human beings.
You know, Superstar, I want to tell you and Mark Marrow something. I've got right here in my hand the original indictment by the feds. Now we know there's going to be a bigger, more comprehensive indictment, a superseding indictment. But guys, listen to this. In one day, he prescribed to an individual 540 pills. In one day, he gave another person 670 pills. It goes on. There's count after count after count, as high as over 770 pills in one day to one individual. Mark Marrow, how does this happen? How prevalent is this in the industry?
Well, first of all, I want to say to Penny Durham, I commend you for coming out. Penny and her two boys are the faces of professional wrestling that you never hear about or you never see. These are the people that are left with nothing. These are the people that should be taken care of. That's why wrestlers have no pensions, no retirement, no nothing. But getting back to the pills, it is unheard of. When I talk about this, is like wrestlers can get anything they want. These doctors are our biggest fans. They have our pictures on the walls. If we need something, they give it to us. And unfortunately, it took 2 murders for it to come out, for something finally to be done. And Congressman Stern, I would like to say that if you ever need me to testify on Capitol Hill, I got to tell you one thing. The truth is the truth is the truth. Please don't stop now. You did it for baseball, football, and basketball. We're people too. Take care of this.
Nancy,
Nancy,
can I follow up on that? Let me just say one thing about Mark Marrow. I feel that he is a voice crying in the wilderness. This man is leading the battle charge against steroids in the state of Florida. He has joined forces with the governor, and I suggest that you, Nancy, have the power to help him bring all the senators and congressmen and every mayor and every little small town in Florida and make the first real stand. And Mark Marrow needs to be commended. That is a very honorable thing this man's doing, and I'm very proud of him for his stance against steroids.
You know, you guys mentioned something about retirement and how people are left in the end. Back to Penny Bordeaux Durham joining us. This is Johnny Grunge's widow. After all that, all the fame, all the years, all the steroids, all the painkillers, what did he leave you with?
Broke, with a funeral bill.
You're now living with your parents.
And I'm now living with my parents. And yeah, it's, you know, when WCW closed, 2 weeks and it was over with. That was it. All, you know, the cars, the house, you couldn't pay for it. That was it. 2 weeks, it was over.
Take a listen to what Dr. Aston's lawyer had to say.
There's nothing sensational or glamorous about this case. It's straightforward. The records will show what pills were prescribed. They were very specific about what pills they think were improperly prescribed. I don't know who it is that's giving them the information where they think it's improperly done. We will look to have it reviewed by good experts from universities to see if the documentation and the prescription is appropriate, and that's how we're going to defend this case. If you read the indictment, there's nothing mentioned in there. There's no steroids mentioned in there. They went through his office once, took all the records, all the patient records, and looked at him, made a decision that there was a rumor that he was selling Demerol out of the office. So they went back to check to see if there's any storage of Demerol there. They didn't find any. They then went to his parents' home, checked there, didn't find any. This is a straightforward case. We've had dozens of them before where doctors are being prosecuted for allegedly writing false prescriptions or prescriptions without a medical basis. That's all this case is about. It's got nothing to do with the wrestler, as the indictment clearly indicates.
I finds a doctor that's going to give him the prescriptions. We medicate ourselves. We diagnose ourselves. We tell the doctor what we need. The problem is that we get prescribed too much pills, too many. And if we tell the doctor we lost our bottle in Tacoma, Washington, he just sends us another script or whatever we need.
Tonight, congressional hearings being urged on Capitol Hill looking into the use of anabolic steroids within pro wrestling. Joining us here tonight, the widow of Johnny Grunge. Penny is with us speaking out. You stated that his life in addiction was horrific, that he tried when he wasn't wrestling to do construction work, to do different types of work. What happened?
Right, well, just you know, the same thing that Mr. Graham was saying. It is hell to live in that kind of a situation. They are so, people don't realize how these drugs are so addictive. And he tried to detox on his own. He was crying out for help before he had passed, and it was difficult for him because we didn't have the money to do it, and at that point I was just so. I mean, if he would have changed, then that would have been. If he could have gotten through it, that would have been awesome, and that we could have moved on and had a great life, I bet. But the problem is that he went back to it and he couldn't do it on his own, and
Yesterday
it's
would
difficult.
have been his 41st birthday.
Right.
How did the boys take that?
It was a difficult day. I mean, we usually have cake and ice cream, you know, in honor of his father, and I try to, you know, pick out the good things, because he was an awesome guy. It has nothing to do with him as an individual. He had a great heart. He was an awesome guy, but when it comes to the addiction, you know, it changed him. And my son, he said, my 5-year-old, he says, Mommy, can we go to heaven and visit Daddy for his birthday? You know, it's difficult. My little guys don't have a father, and it's absolutely right. These guys are overprescribing, and yes, they do take them, and okay, but if it wasn't so accessible, like back in ECW days, Mike would get the stuff ringside, and he'd get the bottles without the labels. Okay, so if it wasn't so accessible, then these guys wouldn't be so addicted. I mean, he's been on this stuff for 12 years.
Now to Don Clark, former head of the FBI Houston Bureau. Do you think there are any charges coming down against the WWE?
You know, Nancy, I really don't think so, unless they can find some kind of complicity with the WWE in either getting kickbacks or either supporting those doctors or breaking some laws. And we've talked about Congress having to come through with some other laws. That may help just a bit. But also the doctors, there are issues there with the prescriptions and with the organizations itself, such as the WWE. And until they put the brakes on it a little bit, it's going to make it extremely difficult for law enforcement to do anything but after the fact, go in and investigate, just like in the Benoit case, and maybe they'll find something to get one doctor. But there are many of these doctors that are out there, Nancy, just like this.
And to Karen Stark, psychologist, you know, everyone keeps saying, and it's true, I'm not arguing with this, that wrestlers take steroids and all the painkillers on their own. It's a conscious decision. But you could say that about any drug addict. So what do you do with the pusher? The pusher that pushes it on them, that writes prescriptions for 770 pills in one day to one person. Here is Grunge taking 70 pills a day. So my question to you is, why, knowing what steroids and painkillers do to you, do wrestlers and others continue?
They continue, Nancy, because it's part of what's happening in their organization. They see other people taking it, they feel that they want to compete, and they also become addicted. You can't have, when you heard that guy talking about the look, you can't have that wrestler look unless you take those steroids. And so they get trapped in wanting to keep working and have that look. And so they often take them, and then they develop also steroid psychosis, which was what the widow was talking about. And unfortunately, that's what her husband had, and you wind up having rage. Aggression turns into rage. It's very scary, and it doesn't stop because they're addicted to these
And it's almost
pills.
superhuman rage. Out to superstar Billy Graham. What did steroids do to you?
Nancy, first of all, I'm going to answer your question. I'd like to get back to Penny for a minute. Again, Penny, I'm so sorry for what has happened, the loss of this man you've loved. And wouldn't it have been wonderful if the WCW or whatever organization he was wrestling for would have had the decency to give professional wrestlers health insurance. The decency to get, guess what? The janitor who's sweeping up the arena that we perform in have more health benefits and insurance than we do. Your husband was on the road just like me, and we put our lives and we lay our bodies on the mat. We sacrifice ourselves for the fans who pay the money.